Ariella wanted to know why the world can't work like the women's group does. Different points of view. So I said.
What did you say?
I said, well, when women are in charge of the world and we have a problem, let's say Avril and I have a problem, it's not going to be a problem. We have a big problem. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a meeting. She's going to offer me some of her diamonds. I'm going to give her some of my fake rings. She'll accept, and we go back to our respective things. War avoided.
You are running on the theory it's because men run the world. Yes, is this the theory? And that's what happens to history. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it definitely has to do with leadership. I'll explain. I'm not talking about myself. Imagine when I was by Harav Peretz. There are some rabbis or teachers, or it could be a mayor, a governor, a president, a prime minister. It doesn't have to be just a rabbi, but I'm speaking in terms of this group, who could say, it's much easier to rally support when you are passionate and extreme. Passionate and not extreme is very difficult to do. Meaning, it's easy for me to sit here and say, those guys, they're so bad, and they're so... And what happens? You guys, you're great, you're amazing, you're the best. And I pump up the ego here, and I knock over there, and then this is like an incredible experience. Wow, we feel like we're the... And there's a lot of this that's done in many places, not just in the field of Judaism, but that's a really easy style to lead. It's also very dangerous, but it's very easy. And what that creates is anyone who's different than myself, or than the model that we're trying to all mold ourselves into, is bad, is unwelcome, is not appreciated. Now, there are many groups, and especially in the Jewish world, and you've heard me hint about this before, so I'm not going to speak about it openly. There are many Jewish groups that run around saying that they're open-minded, that they welcome people of all backgrounds and all denominations, and all. At the end of the day, you push them up against the wall, and you ask them, what is your agenda? And the agenda is, I want you to be like me. And that agenda is not the same as we're open to all denominations and all backgrounds and all affiliations. What that means is, I'll tolerate you because you pay good membership, or because you're, I need 10 people for a minyan, or because it's really sad for me to come to an empty building, or whatever it would be. But they don't truly accept that you are always going to be different than who they are. And that is something that on my own flesh I've experienced, but I think that everybody has been down such a road where, I remember I was once at a rabbinic staff meeting concerning myself and the problems I was creating in San Diego. And I sat with a few other people. That's nice. Even in small towns like this, you have nice mafias going on. You think only in New York, Jerusalem, So we're sitting down having conversation. And my wife spoke up. And the concept was unity, Jewish unity. You're breaking the unity. You're teaching different things. You're speaking about different... Okay, And that was the conversation over and over. Achdus, Ahavas Yisrael, unity, over. And so my wife spoke up. And normally my wife doesn't speak up. But when she speaks up, you probably don't want to be in the room. And my wife said, I just wanted to let you know that unity doesn't mean conformity. Unity doesn't mean that I have to do what you do. It means that even though we both do different things, we agree to work together to do the things that we agree on. No, that's not what unity means. Unity means that you should give of yourself for the greater good. So no one's arguing you shouldn't give of yourself to the greater good. But if unity means that I'm a doormat and you're always stepping on me, what kind of unity is that? That's not true unity. That's right. And the feeling that exists in most of the world, it's not just in, and I'll speak outside, even in the world of politics. We're raised in America. I'm raised as an American Jew in San Diego. And we have certain principles that are programmed politically into our mind. Democracy is the best form of government. The United States is the greatest country on earth. And suddenly you meet somebody from Mexico, and they're so proud of their country. They think they would never move here. They don't care about this place. They love their house. They love their obviously there are people who have problems there too, right? I'm not saying, this is a very proud national... I think you're crazy. Why would you live there? You meet someone who's Israeli. They love the Israeli government. They love the way the Knesset... the politics in Israel are insane. They're not two parties. 300 parties that you have to... And people are... And they're really passionate on this front. But you know what? An Israeli who really knows Israel will tell you, I'm here temporarily, even if they've been here for 50 years. Because home is somewhere else. Because it's nice here. It's nice here, but I like where I come from more. And we'll never understand it. You can meet a person who'll tell you, I think that capitalism and democracy is corrupt. And you know what, maybe they never stood in bread lines in a different country, or they never experienced what it's like to live in a different situation. But we are trained from the beginning that someone who's different than ourselves is already, it's a bad thing. This country has been open to people of all backgrounds and all denominations and all races. And I think today, this country is better at it than it was 50 years ago. When Jews, many of your grandparents were coming to this country, off boats from Europe or other countries, it wasn't, I will accept you as a European, I will accept you as a Jew, I will accept you as a South American. I will accept you once you melt into my society. And America became the great melting pot. People didn't want to have their kids in private Jewish schools. That was considered, why would I want my kid to stick out? I want to send them to public schools so they can meld in, mish in, and become like everybody else. And the truth is that was the value in this country. Now you're dealing with a whole other world, a world of people who come here and they don't even care about the country. That's an interesting perspective. Hey, wow, you're fat.
Wow, that was quick.
And so back to this group, I think that the feeling at this table, which is different than the rest of the world.
Rabbi Yana is explaining what your question is.
Oh.
So what's different, it's a good question. What's different around this table, I feel, is that we've all agreed, and this is not something that everyone can agree to. We've all agreed that we're not here with an agenda, aside from to discover, to grow, to explore. And inevitably change will happen, meaning I will be exposed to something that you bring up that I didn't consider before. And therefore, I'm now changed. I might have, maybe that's a better perspective. It's a different way to look at it. I like that way better than the way that I was looking at it. Or you might say, you know what, I think you're crazy. And I thought that I tolerated that perspective. Now I hate it even more than I hated it before. But that's coming to a table without an agenda. And that feeling is that I can be here for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and all that's expected from me is to remain truthful and part of a group. Nothing more than that. I know there's nothing else that's tying me down. There's nothing else that I'm being searched. I had a person come to me this week. She was having some dating problems. Someone a little older than me that was dating someone from LA, whatever it was. And they came to talk to my wife and I about how to resolve their issues. And when they left, they pulled out a checkbook and started writing a check. And I put my hand on their checkbook. I said, please put it in your pocket and go home. I said, what do you mean? You can't sit with a rabbi and not write him a check. And it could be that I'm naive. I know many of you have written checks out to the synagogue. And never in my life will I sit down with a person as a rabbi and expect that a person, because they spoke to me, because they came to my Shabbat table, because they came to my synagogue, never in my life do I expect any kind of compensation from that. That's my job. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for. And if we have reached a state where somebody feels you can't sit with a rabbi unless you write a check, then we have gone so far down the drains that it's not even worth resurrecting this. It's not okay. It's not correct.
But going to speak to a rabbi is the same as going to see a psychologist, because you're asking them the same questions. Like if you went to a psychologist, you'd pay him.
I'm not telling you that my time
is
isn't
a donation. It's always a donation.
I'm not telling
you
you.
give it afterwards. You don't
Yes.
give it right
I'm
there.
not telling you that my time is not valuable. I'm not. I think I'm in one of the most underpaid professions in the world. Right? I don't think otherwise. But that's not.
But it's embarrassing when somebody writes a check in front of you. I understand.
So let me put it in better terms than this. Is that there's my obligation, which is to serve the people, and there's another person out there. They feel that in order on their end, in order to make it feel fair, they want to donate to the community. Fine, but that's not. It's not you come in. It's not you come in and it's a $60 an hour fee and it doesn't work. But there are places. Don't tell me that there are places that work like that. There are people that I once had to call a rabbi, not here, and I tell you, there's a couple in the community. They're getting divorced. I think they need some help, and the rabbi said, they're not members here, so go find someone else to buy them. What? I don't understand. So they're not members. I mean, they don't. What do they mean members? They come to the synagogue. They eat the gefilte fish. I don't know what they do, but they don't pay the membership. So that means they're not part of your flock anymore. They're not part of the people you have to care for. And so I think in general leadership is lacking. Leadership in the whole world is lacking. And I think what we've developed here is a certain. I don't know that you can definitely replicate it on a larger level, but you need mature people, intelligent people, and people who are willing to think outside of themselves. 3 things which don't come in high in high quantities in
And
the world.
there's no expectation at this class. We don't expect certain things from our
Anybody.
friends. It's just we come here because we want to be here.
But that's
We don't
something very
expect
special.
anything.
If the
Yeah,
world
it
could
is.
operate like that, and you know, and forgive me for being, there are some people that come to the class once, and then they never come back again.
Right.
And I even had someone come and complain about this class, like it's the craziest thing. And I was like, there's some people that, no, none of the people in the class. Like the style is too informal. That means that they're just, their soul is not cut out for this kind of
No,
style.
because we think out of the box.
But that's okay. That's okay. And part of my job is thinking out of the box and also accepting the one who doesn't want to sit at the table, right?
And
That's
what
also part of my job.
And that's what I love about this class. And
But I'm
people
sure that this doesn't work for everybody.
No.
You know, I spoke with a
Or the
young.
timing, time of day.
Right, no,
People
that
come
part
and
I'm
go.
not-
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
There was a young lady that came here, and she was telling my wife that she has an issue. The other synagogue that she went to, the rabbi would tell everybody what to do, and he would scream at them if they didn't show up. And she doesn't understand why my synagogue doesn't operate the same way. And I thought it was a joke. Like, are you serious? That's the model. The model that some people need is to come somewhere, to be told what to do, to this is how you should walk, this is how you should dress, this is how you should eat, this is what time you should show up. And I will, for the life of me, never understand such a thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I'm sure there are people who do, and that's what they need, and therefore we can never fill in that niche.
On this note, I want to say that Wednesday night was really very nice here. We had the Sheva Brachot
Oh, yes,
for
it was
Judy's
lovely.
daughter.
Yes.
And I think it was just very nice. We had like 5 of us from the women's group that were
Yes.
here, were able to come that night. And then there were a lot of Judy's friends, who she's known for many, many years, that came and knew her kids since they were this high. And it was just a nice way
It
to
was a
celebrate
lovely
each
way.
other's
I'm sorry that I
simchas.
couldn't
Simcha.
come.
Yeah,
But you just brought up a good point. This is actually a nice segue into the Haggadah. But
I just
I'll
want
take.
to second that because Rabbi Yonatan on Shabbat approached me and he said, Shema Buchot was very nice. It was simple, but it was very nice.
Oh, Masha.
So
For me, anything that Rabbi Halevy comes to is an honor to be there. That's my.
I liked him. It was an honor to see him
Special.
here.
Yeah, he was
And
very
his
nice.
wife. I've met them many times.
She was my first grade teacher, and he was my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher.
Really?
So,
That's
you know him?
interesting.
Yeah.
He's a nice
if we're talking about mafias and politics, this is one man that doesn't
Oh, he's
play.
so-
He doesn't play
so
the
doesn't
game.
play into anybody.
Yep.
not involved. Nice.
The Haggadah. That's what we're talking about. It's Pesach this week. We're talking about the 4 sons. 4 sons are sitting at the table, and every year people read through the 4 sons. It's like it's like a play. The evil one, the wise one, the simple one, the one that doesn't know how to ask. They're all sitting at the table, and they all have different questions they're asking. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? I don't even know how to ask a question. Whatever they're asking at the Haggadah. Have you ever wondered what kind of table was it? What kind of parents were these in the Haggadah? That 4 kids who led completely different lifestyles. Some of them even opposing each other. Meaning the evil one and the wise one, they're not only are they not on the same path, they're on conflicting paths. I don't know, the one who doesn't know how to ask and the naive one, I don't know that naive is the opposite of wise. It's just different. The one who doesn't know how to ask is not an opponent of the evil one, he's just different. What kind of parents were these? That have one table that 4 kids could sit at and feel comfortable at?
It's an interesting question because I have 5 children, and let me tell you, each one has their own path. And each one does their own thing. And yet they all love each other and they all understand each other. And each one was brought up in the same home, but each one has his own path. And there's nothing wrong with that. It means that the child has been able to think for himself. I think that anyone that has any amount of children and they're all the same, I think is very sad.
I don't know if that is common. Is it that all brothers and sisters are similar?
No, it's not so common. But how often can we be different and still sit at the same table? And not just at the same table.
It has to do with
It has to do with
It's
the
the parents.
of
Yeah.
course.
And they're not just sitting there like one's uncomfortable, one's involved. They're all asking questions.
Yes.
Now we respond to them differently, meaning one of them break his teeth, right? And I mentioned to you the first class, so this is an empty threat. The whole style of the seder is about being able to ask, and we're trying to scare him a little bit, but nobody's breaking his teeth at the Haggadah. I was now in Las Vegas. I was in the lobby of a hotel, and I met this young Hasidic kid He's there on business. He does all kinds of different business trips and whatever. I don't know what exactly he deals with. And I gave him my phone number. It's one of those things. You just meet someone. Hey, you take my phone number. You ever in San Diego? Give me a phone call. Half the time you expect nobody's ever going to come to San Diego. They're never going to give you a phone call, even if they do. I got a text message from him on Thursday night, 1 o'clock in the morning.
My God.
I'm in San Diego.
Actually, not.
Just pulled into town.
The question was, I don't have anywhere to go this year for the seder. If I fly to San Diego, can I come to your house?
Oh, wow.
How sad.
Listen to a person that I don't know. I met him for 5 minutes in the hotel lobby.
Is a religious Hasid?
It
It looks religious.
Yeah, that started off somewhere over there. And I said, well, where would you be if not by me? I don't know. I don't really have a place to go. Clearly the guy is not lacking money. He could fly wherever he wants because he told me he has a hotel already. It's not the problem here. The problem is that he has a family that he's not comfortable going home to. And no matter where I would be in my life, religious, not religious, in trouble, not in trouble, right wing, left wing, whatever I would be, I would always be welcome in my parents' house. It takes a lot to become a persona non grata by my parents. And for me to think that a kid, I don't know what his crimes and problems
Maybe his
were.
parents don't do a seder.
Yeah, his parents definitely do a seder with the other 11 kids in the family.
Oh, there's not 11 kids?
He is the only one who just doesn't feel comfortable there. And that's a really scary thing.
That's sad.
It's a scary thing for me that...
Exceptionalized parents. It could be that his parents...
It could be. I'm not judging his parents. I'm telling you a situation here where there's one kid out of a whole flock who doesn't feel welcome in his own house.
But that's
If-
very sad.
If you don't have your own home to feel safe in, so where are you really safe?
No one.
I had a husband and a wife come sit with me a few months ago. Baruch Hashem, the kashrut questions, I like answering them. It's not my thing. The husbands and wives that come, they want help. That's the people that really want to grow. I appreciate these things. And they were talking about this and about that and about that. And halfway through I said, I just need you to understand one thing. If you come home, it's the only place that you own, it's the only place that you could put your head down, it's the only place that's yours. And you don't feel safe, not just physically, nobody's harming you, it's not an abusive situation. But you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel respected, you don't feel cherished, you don't feel that home is the one place that I don't have to put on a show for the whole world. At work you have to pretend you're somebody you're not. At the grocery store you have to put... At home, you shouldn't have to also worry, so what show am I putting on for my wife or my husband? I said, if that safe place doesn't exist, then where do you have a person who will become insane? And they'll look for safety somewhere else. I had a man who told me he sleeps in his office. He brought in a mattress under his desk and he sleeps in his office.
That's so sad.
Because at home, every time he comes home, it's complaints and complaints and complaints. He said, and I'm not a perfect person. He said, there's reason to complain about me. But can I just not have an hour of my life where I'm not the worst person in the world? You have here a seder, and the author of the Haggadah starting off a seder saying, we're going to discuss some pretty interesting things tonight. Miracles and the splitting of the sea. We're going to discuss about Egyptians drowning, all kinds of one. We want to have a discussion. But you cannot have a discussion if we don't all agree that 4 children are sitting at this table, they all have a right to ask questions and they all deserve answers. If we don't come to the seder with that approach, then what's really the seder all about? The seder is kind of like your Mishlach Manot. It's a time to have people in your life that you normally wouldn't have in your life. It's not a Jewish Thanksgiving dinner. It's nice you have all your family come over. Family are not the only people in the world that... Of course it's easy to sit down and have a seder. Maybe it's not so easy. I don't know who your family is.
The way
You know what they said? They said, I said in the synagogue on Shabbat. You were there? Someone shared us the joke. Said, you wish people a happy and kosher Passover. Right? He said, so that's what you wish them when they're staying at home for Passover. It's happy and kosher. He said, but if they're going to go to a Passover hotel, one of those programs in the Caribbean, wish them a happy Passover. You're not really sure if it's going to be kosher, but a happy Passover will be. If they're going to be by their in-laws for Passover, wish them a kosher Passover, because happy it definitely won't be. But if they're going to go with their in-laws to a Passover hotel, so just wish them Passover. It won't be happy or kosher. That's
Rabbi, So, most of the Haggadahs, when they do the 4 questions,
Yes.
the evil one, the wise one, I can't remember the other 2, I mean, these are labels. You know, you read this and you think, oh my God, well, everyone wants to be the wise one, right? Because you don't want to be the evil one. You don't want to be the simpleton. You don't want to be the other one, which doesn't sound so good. You know, and so people rush through this because we're all thinking, well, you know, which one am I? You know, not everyone is a Torah scholar sage to be the wise one. You know, most people think of themselves as one of the other three, you know, and then they have varying degrees of what they feel about that.
The struggle that happens here is because people don't truly appreciate what is evil. What I mean, they don't truly appreciate what is evil. Rav Kook, who was one of the founding chief rabbis of Israel, before it was a state, he writes his book on Kabbalah called Orot HaKodesh, the lights of holiness. Rav Kook says that if there were no evil people, there would be no righteous people. And if there was not black, there would not be white. And if there were not darkness, there would not be light. If there were no non-Jews, there would not be Jews. If there were no ignoramuses, there would not be Torah scholars. What is Rav Kook saying? It's a riddle, but what's he saying?
We need everybody to make a world.
That's what on a face value he might be saying, but there's why? Why is that true? Maybe I want a world without evil
We need
people.
opposites,
Why?
because without one, you're nothing.
But the logic, why that way? I appreciate that on an emotional level, on a logical level. Why is it that way?
You will not recognize the good if you don't have the evil.
Very good.
Olay the
If you know what contrast is? If you don't have something to compare and contrast, then you, for example, if we were all Jews in the world, we wouldn't be Jewish, we would just be people.
It's true.
If the only color in the world was white, it wouldn't be white, it would just be, that's what color is. If there were no evil people, then tzaddikim, righteous people, would not be righteous, they would just be. And therefore, in order to create that which is righteous, that which is good, you have to have evil. So Rav Kook says, so what about the guy who says, you know what, I'll be the evil one. I need, in order for there to be a tzaddikim in Jerusalem, I'm going to be the evil one here in San Diego. He says, that's not your choice. Evil people, there are a lot of people who sign up to be evil. Righteous people, there's not enough who sign up. You have the choice to make. I thought Hashem will take care. There'll be enough evil people in the world, enough bad things in the world, enough darkness in the world. You make sure that you're involved in the side of light. When you sit at this Haggadah, if there was not an evil son here, there also would not be the Chacham. The wise son wouldn't be here either. He wouldn't be. He would just be the son. And there's a certain appreciation. An appreciation of the other one, even if it's just because it's like when you were dating. And you meet all kinds of people that you're like, oh my God, this is the kind of person I will never marry. The reason you went out with that person, if the value to that may have only been just so you know exactly what you're not looking for. There might have been nothing else good that came out of that meeting, except for that was the worst mistake I made in my life. But that's important. That is valuable.
We have to.
But I understand that. And I appreciate what you're saying, but I think there's a flaw, I can't help it, in all the Haggadahs. Because no one explains that. You know, no one says when you get to the page where you're doing the 4 questions, let's talk about we're out to the 4 questions, and you set the stage now, because people are reading it and going, oh, I'm definitely not wise. Okay, I'm not really evil, so I must be somewhere in between.
You normally settle
People are
somewhere
judging
between
themselves.
the simple one and the one who doesn't know how to ask. This is normally where, I know what you're saying, that's where most people settle. It's not fair that we settle that way. And I think the whole Haggadah, the reason why there are volumes and volumes of commentaries in Haggadah is like any good old Jewish book. You have to read in between the lines. You have to read what's not there. The story that's being told that's not actually there.
The deeper meaning.
The Chachamim say that when you look at a Torah scroll, what color are the letters?
Black.
Black. What about the white letters?
You don't see them.
You don't see them, but where are they?
They're there.
Surrounding the black letters.
Everything surrounding the black is also a letter. In the terms of Kabbalah, they call it black fire and white fire. There's 2 kinds of fires. The one that's obviously sticking out in your face. What's in Haggadah? Obviously it's in your face. This is the 4 sons. What are you not seeing? An example? Tonight's a Lubavitcher Rebbe's birthday. He passed away in 1994. They still celebrate his birthday. So an excuse to bring up his name. Lubavitch Rebbe Alev
You
Shalom.
mean lots of Hebraians tonight?
Yes, Lubavitch Rebbe Alev Shalom shares that there's a fifth son. There's a fifth son in the Haggadah. Where's the fifth son?
Can't say.
He's the one. He's the one who didn't come to the Seder. He's the one who felt left out. He's the one who doesn't even know that this Friday night is Pesach. He's the one that doesn't even pick up the Jewish Journal or the L'chaim magazine to know what Hebrew month it is. There are a lot of those children in the world. You know, when they suggested that you should have an empty place at your Seder in commemoration of the Soviet Jew who's not at the Seder, the Lubavitch Rebbe says, why do you commemorate the Soviet Jews, but why have an empty chair at your Seder? Why don't you go look for that fifth son who doesn't know tonight's Pesach and bring him to sit in that chair? Commemoration is not enough. Do something about it. Find that fifth son. But that's called reading in between the lines. If you would tell someone, hey, you know the 5 sons in the Haggadah, they'll smile at you because obviously you don't remember the Haggadah from last year. There are only 4 sons in the Haggadah. But it's what's in between the lines that you have to read. It's what's actually happening, then no one's telling you about it. When you look in the Haggadah this year, you'll find 4 sons. And all of them are asking good questions. But the evil one, this is the one we're not uncomfortable with. The evil one, he asks a good question.
What is this offering? What are you doing here?
What is this offering for you? Now you know that every one of these questions are already asked in the Torah. They bring down the verses. The verse here is V'haya ki yomru alechem b'nechem, that when your children will tell you. The 4 sons ask questions that are essentially they're paraphrasing biblical verses. The wise one, the simple one, and the one who doesn't know how to ask are all asking questions that are they're phrased in a singular Hebrew. Ki yomar lecha bincha, when your one son will tell you. Only when it comes to the evil one is it in plural. Yomru alechem b'nechem. Your children, numerous children, will tell you such things. And Rabbi Yosef Masas, I showed you this Haggadah from Morocco, a photocopy of his handwriting. Rabbi Yosef Masas, when he asks this question, he says, why is this son asking in plural? Why is the evil one, why is he specifically asking the question for many people instead of just for himself? And he says something in a more sarcastic voice. He says that the wise people are very hard to come by. It's hard to find a truly wise person in this world. That even someone who's simple, they don't know much, is a hard person to find. One who doesn't even know how to ask a question, where are you going to find somebody like that? Yeah, you have to look for such a person. But evil people, that for some reason Hashem created them in plenty. They're all over the world. You know, evil people are everywhere, destroying the world, corrupting the world. He said, and that's why, he said, it's a hint. The evil son is saying, there's a lot of people like me. And not in a positive way. We should know. You asked why this can't happen on a larger scale? Because you are from the cream of the crop. The whole world is not made out of cream. When you milk a cow, it's not just cream. There's other stuff that comes out of there too. And there's a lot more of that. There's a lot more milk that comes out of a cow than cream. And milk is not necessarily bad, but it's not conducive to creating creamer for your coffee. It's not good for making a group like this on a larger scale. And part of the reality of the world is realizing that not everybody is like me. In a bad way too, not just in a good way. You know, I never understand. Every time one of these terrorist attacks happens, I think there's one question that I think about, and it takes me somewhere that I really shouldn't. I don't think that everyone goes there, but these stabbing attacks that have been happening.
Yes.
You know, it's easier. Someone shouldn't take this out of context. In my recording, it's easier to put a bomb in the bottom of a bus and run away.
Yeah.
It's easier to press a button in Washington, D.C. and shoot a rocket in Afghanistan. But to go over to another human being and stab a knife in them and kill them with your own hands, it takes a certain, not just a lack of humanity, but like a vicious cruelty that is not prevalent in the average person. And when I read on the news and I see this one, they murdered her boyfriend, and this one put the child and killed them. You just check your news. Every day there's someone dying somewhere in this country. Forget Israel. Like Israel sounds so dangerous. In Israel, it's a consistent story. Who's killing who? Here, you don't even know who's killing people. Here, it's everybody's killing everybody. And just check your news. Every morning you'll find it. Texas, and Florida, New York, and Seattle.
They burnt yesterday somebody alive.
Oh, you
What?
hear this?
Yes,
In Hillcrest.
yes, it was
What?
disgusting.
They just
What?
threw
They
gasoline
gasoline
on somebody and then they light him on fire.
In
He died.
Hillcrest?
I don't
Yes.
know if it was Hillcrest.
In
was it?
Hillcrest.
I didn't know that.
So listen to this. So listen to the story.
And they just watched him burn.
They watched
What?
him
They
burn.
watched him
He
burn.
ran and asked for. They say his screaming was just
Do
beyond.
they know who did it?
No, they're after the cow.
So listen to this.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
cow.
Listen to this.
Horrors.
There are all kinds of problems in the world and all kinds of disputes in the world. And forgive me for sounding like a hippie from many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But when you kill somebody, not you, when someone is killed, there are parents that now lost a child. There are children that now lost a parent. There are siblings that now lost a brother or sister. That damage, it's you can't repair it. It's not like you stole $1 million from somebody and then you can give it back to them. It's not like you burned their house down and you could rebuild it for them. This is the kind of thing that you cannot reverse. It's one of those places that Torah says there's no hope for a murderer. There's nothing we can do. There's no way to rehabilitate the murderer who murdered. There's nothing they can do to take it back. And when I ask, is it really necessary? Is this the only way to solve a problem? Is to kill somebody else? To damage not just them, but everybody, the whole world around another person.
So what effect does that have on the worlds above us, or other, Kabbalistic worlds, worlds of
The other
formation,
realms.
worlds of creation, world of emanation? I know you're not a Kabbalist specialist, but I mean,
There-
our mitzvot supposedly make a difference in these unseen worlds to create angels, which we talked about briefly last time, etc. What does the evil like this do?
The Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin talks about all these death penalties in Jewish law. Because the question is, I'm a judge on the rabbinic court, and I have a court case in front of me, and witnesses come forward, there's criminals, the conclusion is, according to the Torah, this person has to be put to death. And the question as the judge is, what right do I have to kill another human being? So God says I can. Good. And everyone says God says they can kill people. What right do I have? What damage am I doing to the world? And it's interesting that Masechet Sanhedrin, as much as it focuses on death penalties, also focuses on the damage that carrying out what we would consider a rightful legal execution can have on the world too. To the point where the Talmud says that a rabbinic court, you have to remember, what is a rabbinic court? It's the court. There was no other court system.
The Beit Din.
The Beit Din, the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem, that executes one person once every 70 years is considered a murderer's court. It's a court of murderers. So all the things you read in the Torah, Motumad, who should be killed, who should be stoned, who should be... If a Beit Din, the head Beit Din in Jerusalem, everyone's court cases are going there, from an entire population kills one person every 70 years, they're considered already murderers. We consider it, even in a legal way, to be a very scary thing. It's not surprising to me. I don't know that it's correct, but it's not surprising to me the state of Israel doesn't have a death penalty. Something in our nature says that, I don't know, I'd rather just lock him up for life than kill him. And I don't know if that's the right way to figure something out either. I'm not a big fan of prisons and the way they work. I'm just, the alternative of killing another human being, even if it's right, even if he's a monster, even if I don't want to become a monster. I don't want to become somebody who kills. To the point where the same tractate of Talmud says that somebody who kills another human being has destroyed the whole world. And somebody who saves another human being has saved the whole world. I mean, the damage is larger than this world. One person's life is worth the life of the whole world. This quote is in Poland, on Schindler's Factory. I was there. And on Schindler's Factory, they have this quote from the Talmud, which says, "He who saves a life is as if he saved the whole world." Do you know how many people were saved by Oskar Schindler?
Yes.
1,200 or something.
Yeah, I mean, descendants, and great, until the end of time. Even one person that was saved is a whole world.
My husband's parents were both on Schindler's List.
Really?
They were both what?
They were
On
both
Schindler's
in
List.
Really?
Look at
Yeah.
that. Look at that. Oh, that's like a history.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
The world is life is very valuable. The what it's connected to. I don't need to be a Kabbalist to tell you. what a person's life is worth just cherishing and appreciating and taking care of. And if we focus our energy instead of killing and hating and fighting and whatever else the world likes to do, it's much more, I don't know if it's fun, but it's easier. It's a cheap way out of problems is to fight over them instead of solving them or just agreeing to disagree about them.
I have a hard time with that, because when I see these ISIS killers, I want to kill them. I really do.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You want to kill them because you hate them, or do you want to kill them because you're afraid that they're going to kill other people?
Both. I hate what they're doing to people.
Answer the question, though. The initial fear is they might come after me if I don't stop them. They'll come after somebody I know if I don't stop them. They'll kill a whole other village of people if I don't stop them. Or is it I just want to kill them in order to
Stop them.
So if it's in order to stop them,
It is to stop them.
is there another way to stop them?
No, because they're horrible people, and they don't have a conscience.
Okay, thank God I'm not a world leader, so I'm not here in the I'm not in the ISIS department of who kills and
No,
who
we
isn't.
were talking about...
So imagine this. Imagine that you are now an Israeli police officer and you capture a terrorist. Captured. Handcuffed. In the back of a truck.
Mhm.
What he would do to me if he captured an Israeli police officer is probably unthinkable.
Right.
Would I do that to him?
No.
I was once in a class with police officers, and a rabbi came to
I
speak
think
to
they
them.
do a lot more than the general public
I agree with
is aware of.
No, wait. I'm not speaking
I
about
don't think we're
I'm not speaking about Israeli police and their morality or lack thereof. I'm not a big fan of the Israeli police department. The soldiers, yes. The police department, not so much. My own personal opinion.
If I were a police officer in Israel and I had a terrorist in my back, I would kill him. I would.
Okay, you know what? So, you're not the only person who would say such a thing. You're not the only one. I was in a class with a rabbi and police officers and was asked, would you execute a terrorist or would you torture a terrorist?
I do both. First torture, then
Like,
execute.
see, you because I'll tell you the truth, and I'm not putting you down. It's that's
Because you want information.
many
from them.
people.
If it's for information,
Yeah,
that's
you
a
want
no.
Wait.
But
I'm
just
not
for
picking
torture?
hairs now. I'm not picking hairs. I, even for information, wouldn't be able to torture another person.
You would not? Really?
That's why he's a
And-
rabbi.
No, and maybe it's a problem. I don't know.
It's not, it's, unless I would feel that they are physically going to harm me, then I would probably do something. But I don't think I would just go.
You could call me it's misplaced mercy. You could. I'm willing to accept the blame.
Because what happened is, you think about it consciously, you will be suffering your whole life. I mean, I would be having nightmare
But why? If you
on my
saved,
own action because
if you
But
tortured
that's
them
not
and
who
you
you are.
saved others,
Because that's not who
Because
No,
that's
it
not...
didn't.
My wife is in the field of mental health,
I would.
and in the last number of years, they've been discovering more and more about PTSD and about the problems that soldiers come back from war with, and firing one bullet and killing one person on a humanity level. Forget on a spiritual level, on a religious level, on a what happens to a human being when they take an... And I'm not talking about people who are killing innocent... people who went out to war to save countries from enemies. They come back damaged individuals. They come back their whole life they have problems.
That's right.
The people that they love, they can no longer show love to. There's a certain, not just a numbing down, but a having to rip my own humanity out of myself in order to do the things that are necessary. Are there times that those things are called for? It could be, yes. I told you, I'm not a president, I'm not a prime minister, I'm not planning to be one in my future. But in such a situation, it really damages a person. You think you would do this, but you don't know that you'd be able to live with yourself afterwards.
I don't know if I'd be able to execute it. What I'm saying is I would like to think
The
that I
feeling?
could
Of
be
course.
able to,
Of
do it.
course.
When if push came to shove, could I do it? I don't know.
You know, our rabbis tell us that, and I was teaching this, if you want to go on YouTube, we just gave a class about this to the Kollel, in the Guide to Serving God, from the Rambam's son. The Rambam's son says, you can't have misplaced mercy. There are times where you see somebody running down the street with a gun to kill somebody else. You have to kill the person with the gun. You don't have time to call the police. You don't have time to... You see someone about to rape, God forbid, another person. You don't have time to think, was it consensual? Just run after that person and do whatever it takes to stop them. The Torah says, even if what it takes to stop them is killing them.
Right.
Over here, you're choosing between one life and another life, and I'm sure in war there's that question perhaps once or twice removed. But that question exists. But nobody's promising you that just because you did something right, you went to save the rape victim from her rapist, it doesn't mean you're going to come out unscarred. It doesn't mean you're going to come out just because you did something right. There was an article written in an Orthodox magazine called the Mishpacha magazine about 8 years ago, maybe my first or second year in Jerusalem. And it was about the man, the Yemenite Jew, he was the executioner of Eichmann. The way they executed him was nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. And they put all the potential candidates, they just did a lot. They put in papers and they took it out of a hat, and whoever got the name got the name. And the story was that he went to Rabbi Yosef, and he said for 10 years he was having nightmares nonstop. So he didn't see the person, he didn't see him die, he just injected, walked away, whatever it was.
Injection.
No, it was an injection.
Injection.
Yeah. And he said he could not live with himself. And Rabbi Yosef at the consultant said, do you know who you killed? You killed the Nazi of the Nazis. You killed the things that were admitted about him, that were testified about him. He said this man was a monster.
But he took away life.
And what I saw from this article was, even though he did what I think we would consider a right thing to do, was a legal thing, it definitely wasn't an illegal thing to do, the man's life was damaged for the rest of eternity.
I can understand that.
It's like the guy that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Yes.
Right.
What if you're defending Israel?
I'm telling you that this man was defending Israel. He was defending, and so there are times where you have to, and that's perhaps another situation. I'm willing to give up my life and sanity for the rest of my life to save somebody else. Maybe what you're seeing here is an even greater call to action. It's not saying you're allowed to kill somebody. It's saying you're allowed to ruin yourself to save somebody else. Maybe that's what it's saying. Maybe that's something we don't think about. It's also in between the lines.
Well, maybe you're doing it for a reason that's larger than you.
Very
Much
good.
larger.
Remember, we had this in the story of Purim. Esther wants to go to... She doesn't want to go to Achashverosh. She doesn't want to talk to him. She's afraid that she's going to die. What does Mordechai tell her?
Doing it for a greater good.
He says,
It's going to come.
if you don't do it, Revach v'atzala yamod haYehudim b'makom acher. Salvation will come to the Jews from somewhere else. V'at uveta v'chtoved, and you will just be wiped out, and you'll lose out anyways. He says, it's not about you. Ki macharesh tacharish ibet azot. If you're quiet in this moment, he says, it's going to be terrible what's going to happen.
Sometimes you do it and you don't think of the ramifications.
That's normally what happens in the heat of a moment. Hey, how are you? I think I just heard him, but I don't know if it's true.
I'm sure it's true.
About 5 or so minutes ago.
I think it's beautiful what you just said, though, about soldiers going to war. I think it's kind of a shame that it's not being explained to them, or if it is being explained to them, then they will not be as damaged, because if you're going with the cause, which is bigger than you, I think consciously, if you have that kind of understanding, then you're willing to kill and willing to be killed with...
Could you get me a book?
Sorry?
Could you get me a book?
Yes.
Because you don't know what you're saying. It's very good. On that bookcase, they're all brown. I always thought the brown book with the gold writing. They're all brown with the gold writing. And it's that bookcase straight ahead of you on the bottom shelf. There are light brown books, like those.
Nobody talked about
There should be one that says Melachim Shoftim on the side. They all say Mishneh Torah. One should say Melachim Shoftim.
The mental health professionals.
We'll put it on the map. And look, you have all these people who...
Yes.
fought and were-
Anyone says Melachim?
That's
Okay,
right.
that one,
You know
Mishpatim
what? The
Shoftim.
men came home and saw horrible things in World War II, and then they came home, all they wanted
I don't know how we
to
got
do
to
was
that. I guess it's
get
connected to
back their
Haggadah.
families and
We're connected
their
back
family
somehow.
forward, and
Thank you, Ariella.
They never recognized it until just a little
It
while
really
ago.
came out during the Vietnam War.
during the Vietnam
PTSD.
War.
That's when
Right.
it was brought to the surface.
That's right. That's right. But what about all the wars before? I mean,
Yeah, and people were there, but it
people
wasn't
aren't
brought to the
different.
surface.
people aren't different.
No.
Maybe it was
So-
less in World War II, though.
No, I think it's
No, I don't
the
think
same
so.
all through history. It's just that Vietnam War brought a lot of things out.
Well, I think it was even worse in the Vietnam War and Iraq because they were senseless wars and they should not have been fought. And that
But that's
would be
political.
really disturbing for
Well, that's
someone.
possible. I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely, it was also a different time period.
That's right.
You know, everyone was talking about everything at the time
That's
that
right.
the Vietnam War
The
was going
Vietnam
on.
brought
you know, it
everything
was-
to a head, it brought
Right.
everything out, so,
yeah.
but it was definitely there before.
But I do know people who fought in that war, the Vietnamese War, that are only now starting to get mental health treatment because they wouldn't do it before.
It depends on the person.
And
Yeah.
his husband,
Yeah.
It depends on the
They
person,
tried and
but
tried
it
to
also
go
depends on the insurance and how far they wanna do it and take it, so
Exactly.
it's up to them too. You can't
he
blame.
tried. He went down to the
And then there's the trauma of the people on the ground who are
That's right.
who are just living where the war is taking place,
Right.
whatever that
Correct.
is.
Of course.
You know, in any war. I mean,
That's another trauma.
yeah. I mean, my mother was a nutcase because.
Let me read to you something. But if you ever want to read something fascinating, you might struggle with some of it, but it's fascinating. Are Maimonides' laws of war? Ariella, this is what you wanted. The Maimonides' laws of war. The Rambam, he tells us what a soldier needs to know when he goes to war. There are laws. You can't just kill everyone. You can't. How do you decide who's innocent? How do you decide who's guilty? The Rambam starts off the laws of war in chapter 6. He says, "En osin milchamay adam ba'olam." We as a Jewish army never go to war with another person in the world. Ad shekorimam shalom. Unless you first offer them peace. You can come to a place, you can surround them, you can be ready to go in, but you must offer first to make peace. We don't want to kill people. We would be happy to solve this war some way else. Echad milchemet harishut, ve'echad milchemet mitzvah. There are two kinds of wars in Jewish tradition. There's something called milchemet harishut. What is a milchemet harishut? It's a permissible war, not an obligatory war. The king, King David says, "Hey, I want that country to be part of the land of Israel." He's strong enough, he's mighty enough, he has an army strong enough. Go for it. You're allowed to go to war. The whole world is warring against each other. That's though not a war that everyone's obligated to join. You don't have to be a part of that war. That's kind of like, people you're a soldier, you're being paid, that's what you do. There's another kind of war, and that's called the milchemet mitzvah. A war that is a commandment to go to war. It's about this war that Torah tells us, afilu chatan yotze mechupato. Even a groom leaves his wedding canopy to join such a war. If the Jewish people are in imminent danger, there is no person that's exempt from going to war. If the Jewish people's life is in danger, everyone, they leave their homes, they leave their families, they leave everything, and they go and they have to protect the world. There's nothing you can do. In both of those situations, even in a situation where our life is in danger, we first must offer peace. Step one of war. Anyone else will tell you it's step one of failure. You lose your element of surprise, you lose all kinds of things that you need in order to be successful in a battle. It doesn't make a difference. We had to have given it a shot. If the answer is no, well, there's the rest of the book. Vasur l'shaker bevritam l'chazev lehem. He said once you make a treaty with them, it's a biblical commandment. You're prohibited from going back on the terms. I mean, you can't make some tactic where you offer them an agreement and it's just to let their guard down and then you go in and wipe them out. These things are HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us rules about these things. But let me read to you the last chapter. There are a number of people who don't go to war. All kinds of people who are afraid, they feel like they won't be able to fight properly. It's not conducive to have soldiers in the battlefield who don't know what they're doing there. And listen to this last halakha, and I'll tell you where I saw this halakha. I was once teaching for a rabbi. He's a Moshe Yeshiva. And he's also a general in the Israeli army. So he teaches in the yeshiva, and in Miluim, in his 2 months out of the year that he goes, he's a general in the army, he's a commander of a tank unit. And I was once, we were in his office, and he showed us his army uniform, whatever it was. He took something out of his pocket, put it on the desk, he left, and I saw what was in his pocket. He has this teaching photocopied in his pocket of his army uniform. Why is the army uniform there? In case he ever gets called up in a spur of a moment, you put on your madim, you put on your uniform, and then they come get you. So this is what he has written in there. Machar shikanes b'kishrei milchama. The Rambam says in the laws of...
The print is so small.
Maybe next time I'll afford a bigger one.
Can you read
Well,
that?
We need a high prescription.
ומאחר שייכנס בקשרי המלחמה, once you enter into the heat of war, once you're in the battlefield, you're there already. This is the consciousness that a soldier must have. ישען על מקווה ישראל ומושיעו. You have to lean upon the mikveh, the ritual bath of Israel. This is a term, the only place you find it, to my knowledge. The ritual bath of Israel and the one who saves them, it's a nickname for Hashem, meaning this is a war that you think is about impurity. You think it's about fighting, but essentially this war is also purifying, because of if you go in with this mindset. So you have to lean on Hashem. I'm going to war in order to sanctify God's name. וישים נפשו בכפו ולא יירא ולא יפחד ולא יחשוב. You can't fear, you can't worry, you can't be concerned. ולא יחשוב לא באשתו. You shouldn't think about his wife, לא בבניו, not about his children. אלא ימחה זיכרונם מליבו. He has to erase their memory from his heart. He cannot think about his wife, he cannot think about his kids. And everything has to be למלחמה. All his consciousness has to be for war. Everyone who starts to do this and scares themselves, he violates a prohibition. You can't do this in war. It's not the right time to be thinking about, what color am I going to paint my picket fence outside of my front yard. You're in war now. It's a different story. When he goes to war, he has to think the blood, the life of every single Jew in this country. He's talking about an Israeli soldier in the land of Israel in biblical times. Every person's life is on my neck. Maybe it's just me. If it's just me who's going to win this war, I have to think the whole world is resting on my shoulders right now. What are you connecting yourself to? A greater picture. What's the greater picture? You're thinking about the nation, not about you, not about your wife, not about your kids. You're thinking, I am the messenger of everybody. ואם לא ניצח ולא עשה מלחמה בכל ליבו ובכל נפשו, הרי זה כמי ששפך דמי הכל. Somebody who didn't think this way and he was not successful in war and he went in and he was afraid and because of that he lost, it's as if he killed everybody in his country himself. וכל הנלחם בכל ליבו, and anyone who goes to war with all his heart, בלא פחד, without any fear, ותהיה כוונתו לקדש את השם בלבד. But he goes out not to get money, not to make politics, he's going out because this is what Hashem commanded me, because I have to save my people. מובטח לו שלא ימצא נזק ולא תגיעהו רעה. He's promised that nothing will happen to him, that he will not be harmed. ויבנה לו בית הנכון בישראל, that he'll merit to come back home and build a house in the land of Israel. ויזכה לו לבניו עד עולם, and he'll merit to go back, and his children will have an inheritance in the land of Israel. ויזכה לחיי עולם הבא, and he'll merit the next world as well. And he goes on and continues talking. I'll just ask the obvious question. Many went to war for the land of Israel and didn't come back home. It's a promise. He's going to come back. He's going to build his house. His children are going to have where to live. He's going to make it home. So is the Rambam lying to us?
I'm sorry, Rambam is what?
Is the Rambam lying to us? How many soldiers went to war and didn't come back home?
No, you can ask Raful.
You can what?
Ask Raful. Raful was one of the Israeli highest commander in the army. And he said, this is exactly what he did. He took the soldiers, he returned them all home. Because he was really strengthening them.
But what I'm asking here is,
What if they
there are people who went to war and didn't come home.
My cousin.
I almost feel like I'm being let down here. I'm being tricked into going to war and I'll be back home.
If it's not in this life, it's probably in the afterlife.
You're saying something close.
It depends what home is.
What is, okay,
soul will be home.
Wait, no, forget souls. I'm talking about this world. What is the consciousness? He has to shift his consciousness from thinking about himself, thinking about the whole world, the whole nation, the whole burden of the nation, both for good. If I win, I save them. If I lose, I kill them. The whole burden of the people is on me. At that consciousness, even if I don't make it anymore, but those people that survived because of me, those were my children. That house that was built because of me, I built it. that world that was created, that safe place that was created, this soldier has reached a place where he's not going in it for himself. He's even to the point where he's giving up his life. As they say in Hebrew on Yom HaZikaron, they say that in their death they commanded us to live. It's a person who connected to something that's beyond him, because he put aside his wife, he put aside his family, he put aside his parents, he put aside his home, and he focused on, I am now an emissary of the masses. It's a scary thing, it's a sad thing to think of. So the Rambam ends off all these laws that we wish we didn't have to have these laws. It's not where we want. We don't want to have such a book. We don't want to go to war. What have we asked for? I said this in my class in Shabbat. The Rambam says at the end, that the only reason we've ever asked for Mashiach is not what they tell you at the local synagogue. We're not expecting white horses to come galloping into the sunset. We're not expecting all kinds of I don't know what you're expecting. You know, unicorns. Whatever you're thinking is going to happen when the Geulah comes.
South African unicorn.
Says the Rambam, Lo nitavu chachamim, the sages, the sages, the prophets, they only yearn for Mashiach, so we can have our own corner in the world to be Jewish, and then nobody should bother us.
In peace.
He says we don't want to rule the world. He says we don't want to run the nations of the world. We don't want people even to care about us. We're just asking for our own corner in the globe. It comes time for Pesach, for the Haggadah. And you have to ask yourself a question. Have I found my safe place? Have I reached that Geulah? And the answer is that wherever we are in the world as Jews, and as much as we are not so connected to the Jewish destiny, Pesach is a time where we sit down and we say, I need to make sure that I'm not just focused on myself, but there's a whole world out there. There's a whole world of people. There are different kinds, righteous, evil, wicked, don't know how to ask, do know how to ask. They're all depending on me to create a good world, to create a place that is worth living for, to create a world where they can say, oh, see, the redemption is coming. The world is getting better. It's moving towards positivity. It's moving towards a place of light, not a place of darkness. That doesn't rest on someone else's shoulders. The job is not somebody else's. The job is our job. When we sit down in the Pesach Seder, we have to connect not just our past. I hear everyone talking about the Seder, about Egypt and about the Holocaust, and they remind us of all the worst things that happened in our history. What are you doing about tomorrow morning? You know how you know if someone really internalized the Seder? They come to synagogue for the night of the Seder. They're there at the Seder. And the next morning they don't show up. What about tomorrow morning? Where's your Judaism then? Where's the destiny then? What are you doing to better the world tomorrow? What have you taken away from? We know what it's like to be slaves. We know what it's like to be persecuted. We know what it's like to be murdered. Are we going to let that keep happening in the world, or are we going to make a difference? And that choice is ours. And on that note, I just want to tell you that I think that this chevra here, this group, we make a difference. And you might not see the ripple effects that it has on the world, and I'll tell you one thing that I do see. Aside from how proud I am when you come to this table and ideas that you share. I'm allowed to say, I get nachat from you. I'm allowed to say such a thing. But I know that you don't keep these ideas to yourself. I know that when you're at a Shabbat table somewhere, or you're sitting with your family somewhere, I know you always bring up that one thing that you spoke about, the one concept you heard about, the one thing you learned about, and you are making a difference, because we have here 10 people that are sitting to learn, and then you go somewhere else and you told another 10 people, and if every one of us tells 10 people, that's a Shabbat table, 10 people around the table, in 1 week you just hit 100 people. You think that if they weren't moved by what you had to say, they're going to share it with somebody else. They shared it with somebody else, and shared it with somebody else, and shared it with somebody else. And this is the way it works. It's a cycle in the world. And I'm really looking for it. You know, the summer is coming around. Pesach is a month of rebirth. Nisan is a month of goodness. You know, it's a mistake in the Jewish calendar that the days after Pesach become days of mourning.
Yes, why?
And that's for a class maybe next time. It's a good question. It's not the way Hashem originally intended the calendar to be.
Yeah, because you can't
This is a month
married.
of rebirth. Nisan is a month of the flowers. Hanitzanim niru ba'aretz et azamir higia. This is the time you look out. We have to make a blessing on Pesach about the flowers on the trees. That's our job. This is a time of showing that even where you don't see the fruit yet, but you see the flowers, the redemption is imminent. We don't necessarily see what our big picture is yet, but we're on the right path. We're seeing the flowers. We're seeing the bees coming. We know what's on the way.